Howdy, howdy, this is Mr. Potter. In our second video of learning how to Linux, we're going to talk about viewing text files in the Linux shell or the Linux command line environment. And so I've got one file in this directory. Remember, ls will list the files in the directory. That's this file1.txt. And of course, I have the ability to double click on it, and you'll notice that it's very similar to the file 1 that we had before. I just added some lines. So notice I go all the way down to line 70, and then I've got 3 blank lines here at the end. And the idea is that I'm going to be talking about how to view this file, not from an extra window, but viewing it within the command line interface. And probably the easiest way to view something in the command line interface is by using cat. And what cat does is basically gives me a catalog of a file, tells me what's in the file. So if I want to know what's in file1.txt, then it's going to list all the contents to the screen. And I get the entire contents. I'm just scrolling up here and notice that everything from line 1 all the way down to line 70 and the 3 blank lines were listed here. But this is kind of messy. This isn't really helping me here. So maybe I only care about what's at the very end. Maybe this is the log of some process and I need to know where an error occurred. And so I have the option of just looking at the tail end of a file. So this command here, tail, if I do it with file1.txt, it's going to show me the last 10 lines of the file. So I've got the blank here, which is line 1, 2, 3. Those are my 3 blank lines. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that brings me all the way up to line 63. So this allows me to look. Tail by itself will give me the last 10 lines of a file. But I can say tail with a -4, and that'll just give me the last 4 lines of a file. Or I can do tail -20, and that'll just give me the last 20 lines of a file. So I have the ability to look at the last whatever number of lines of a file that I want to when I'm in the command line interface. And I can do the exact same thing if I wanted to look at the front of a file by using the command head. So if I use head by itself, it's going to give me the 10 lines, just like tail gave me the last 10 lines. So I get the first 10 lines, lines 1 through line 10. I could do head with a -3 to get the first 3 lines of the file. I could do head with a -15 to get the first 15 lines of the file. If I wanted to be clever and try and do something like head with a -80, file1.txt, it's going to give me the first 80 lines of the file. Of course, my file only has 73 lines in it, but it gives me the first 80 lines. It's not going to add any extra lines for me. So I've got the ability to list an entire file using cat. And I've got the ability to list just part of a file using tail or head. Now, there are other things that I can do to view this file. Maybe I want to be able to look at the file and move up or down within the file. Almost like a text editor, but not quite. I just want to view. I don't want to change anything. And I can do something called less. Less is a very simple file viewer. So if I do less file1.txt, it's going to bring it up into an environment where I can see the file. And notice I'm starting at the very top. I've got line 1 through line 30. And what I can do is I can use my arrow keys to scroll down. So 33, 34, 35, 36. And if I press my up arrows, 35, 34, 33, 32. I also have the ability to search. So I can do a slash, which is going to allow me to search. Let's say I want to find if the number 45 is anywhere in this file. I'm going to do /45 and then hit enter. And it's going to take me immediately to the 45. Other thing to realize here is that I had line 70, I had a couple of blank lines, and then I've got these tildes at the end telling me that, hey, I'm beyond the end of my file. So if I was to do something like search for 66, notice that I've got 66, 67, 68, 69, 70, my blank lines, and then these tildes are letting me know this is not part of your file. This is just part of the just letting you know that the file stopped before, and I'm at the end of my file. Now I can search forward, but using a slash is not going to allow me to search backwards. So if I wanted to search for a 33, it's going to tell me patterns not found because after this point, there is no 33 to find. If I want to go backwards, I actually want to use shift slash. And I know it looks like a question mark, but this allows me to search backwards in my file for anything. And so this will take me back up to the 33. So if I wanted to, I could go all the way back to the top of my file. So I'm going to go ahead and scroll up to the top. There's the top of my file. And I can search for all of the 4s in here. So there's a 4, and if I do slash and enter, it's going to tell me the next 4. There's the line 14. Slash enter gives me the 24. Slash enter gives me the 34. And then, of course, when I'm looking for the 4s, the 40s show up a lot. But it highlights all the instances. And so less, that's the name of the program that we're using here, really allows me to search a file as well as to view it at my leisure, certainly with a lot more control from the command line than just using cat, tail, or head did earlier. So I have this ability to kind of navigate a file. I'm not going to edit this file at all. And then, of course, I can hit Q to get out of this, and that takes me back to my original screen. Notice that everything I had on my screen before is still there, the commands that we ran before. So I have this less program. Less is what allowed me to look through the file at my leisure, using the up and down arrows to scroll, using the slash or the question mark to search backwards or forwards. Now, I have something else that I can do that's a little bit more powerful. Let's say that I only want to know if a certain thing is actually in my file. So I can use a command called grep. And what I can do is I can say, hey, I want to find all of the occurrences of 4 in this file. So I'm going to search for 4 in file1.txt. And what it's going to do is it's going to show me all of the lines that had a 4 on it. So I've got the line 4, 14, 24, 34, all of the 40s, 54 and 64, and also notice that it's indicating with this special coloring where in the line that happens to be. So if I wanted to grep for an E in file1.txt, it's going to tell me all the lines that had an E. And of course, every line has an E. If I wanted to do something else like grep for a T in file.txt, file1.txt, it shows me all of the occurrences of the letter T in my file. Of course, there are no letter T's in my file, but it shows me all of those occurrences. Now, if I try and do something like grep for an N in file1.txt, it's not going to tell me that because there is no letter N anywhere in my file. What I can do is I can search for something using a case insensitive. So I can do grep in file1.txt with the /i. The hyphen I lets me know that I'm not caring about the case, that I'm case insensitive. In which case it's going to show me every line that has an N, capital or lowercase. Let's say I wanted to find every line that didn't have an 8. So I can do grep 8 file1.txt and then put a hyphen V. This V is going to tell me what doesn't match. So it's going to give me every line that doesn't have an 8. And so notice that in this output, none of these lines have an 8. There's no 68, there's no 58, there's no 48. If I scroll up, there's no 38, there's no 28, there's no 18, and there's no 8. So I can use the /v in grep to find all the occurrences of where something doesn't occur. So if I wanted to find all the lines where E doesn't occur in file1.txt, I can do that /v. And of course, there are only 2 lines that don't have an E. Remember that we have 2 blank lines at the end of our file. Those 2 blank lines don't have an E. Now, what I can also do is if I want to know what's happening around a particular point, let's say I want to know everything that's happening above wherever a 60 happens to be. I can do grep 60 file1.txt, and I can say, hey, show me what's above 2 lines everywhere there's a 60. So notice there's my 60, and then past it, what's after that, the A is for after, it's going to show me 2 lines after the 60. If I do the same thing but do it with the 6, then it's going to show me after every 6, it's going to show me 2 lines after every 6. So 2 lines after this 6, 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 and it's really showing me 2 lines after each of these 6s as well. Notice 2 lines after the 69 gives me line 70 and the 1 blank line here. And of course, if I want to know what comes before, I can do the same thing. So I can do grep 6 file1.txt with before 3, and I can find everything that's 3 lines before a 6 in this file. And so notice that it's giving me 3 lines before this 6, so 55, 54, and 53. 3 lines before this 6, which is 59, 58, 57, and 3 lines before each of these 6s as well. And it's doing that all the way back to the beginning of the file. Grep is a very powerful tool. So what we've talked about in today's video is we've talked about several ways that I can view text files on the Linux command line interface. I can just do a cat, which lists the whole file. It's going to dump the whole file to my screen. I can do head, and I can do with a hyphen and a number, and it's going to show the top whatever many lines of the file. I've also got tail with a number, and it's going to show the bottom whatever number lines of the file. I have less, which is an interactive and searchable file viewer. Very simple file viewer, but it's something you can do on the command line. And then we have the Grep tool, which allows me to search for occurrences or terms in a file. And if I'm going to do this, there's several tricks that I can use for grep. So for example, we talked about the -I, which allowed me to talk about case insensitive. We also talked about the /v, which is no occurrences. We also talked about the -a and then a number, which is going to show me everything after a particular occurrence, or -b and then a number, which is going to show me that number of lines before the occurrence. So this is a wonderful set of tools that allows me to view files in the command line interface. So once again, this is Mr. Potter. Thank you for watching. Have a great day.